Hi everyone, welcome back. Today's video is my eyeshadow palette declutter. I am pretty happy with how this one turned out. I got rid of quite a few palettes. I didn't do anything massive or crazy, but I just wanted to go through and really think through the palettes that I own and make sure that what I have is true to something that I absolutely love and that feel like me and something that excites me when I see it for whatever reason. I want to be really picky with the palettes that I have because the reality is I make YouTube videos. I have a lot of makeup. I will review things for videos a lot, but at the end of the day, I know which palettes hold a very special place in my heart and which ones are just okay, or they're fine but they're not special to me. You know what I mean? So I tried to weed out those palettes and just keep the ones that I feel really, really strongly about. So I hope you enjoy the video, and if you're new here, my name is Blair. I do all kinds of beauty and makeup content here on YouTube. I hope you'll stick around and subscribe, and let's get started with the declutter. All right, you guys, it is time for eyeshadow. This is all my eyeshadow in this one drawer. I am honestly pretty happy with my eyeshadow palette collection. I do feel like there are some in here though that I can let go of, but I love eyeshadow palettes, but eyeshadow is not my thing. If I had to choose, I would choose complexion products. I love foundation, concealer, blush, that kind of thing. So I don't have as many eyeshadow palettes as you see in a lot of beauty YouTubers' collections, but I don't know. I'm very happy to have a palette collection that fits in one drawer like this. And I feel like we can even thin this out a little bit. So that's what we're going to work on today. I'm going to be pretty brutal here, so I might get rid of a few things that may surprise you, but at the end of the day, I know what palettes I will use and what I have just because I like it and it's pretty. I don't want to keep things just because they're pretty, you know, unless it has some sort of sentimental value or something like that. I'm not going to force myself to get rid of anything, but I do want to kind of condense this collection a little bit. Let's get started. I think what I'm going to do is pick a few things that I know off the top of my head I do want to declutter, like I've been doing in some of the other videos, and then we will go through everything else. So I have a few little mini palettes back here. First thing I can get rid of here is this Urban Decay. I think this is the mini stoned palette. It doesn't have a name on it, but it's 6 shadows, 3 kind of really sparkly shades, those wet looking shadows, and then 3 matte shades. I bought this a long time ago on clearance at Marshall's, and I don't use it. I never use this. In fact, I couldn't tell you the last time I used it. I think I might have used this once in a video and that's it. This is a cute little palette. It's pretty to look at, but am I going to use it? No. So that I think can be decluttered. All right, something else I do think I am going to declutter. This one may shock you. The Mercury Retrograde palette from Huda Beauty. Here's the thing. I love looking at this palette. I think it's really pretty. You get a lot of color, but you have some neutrals in here too. I think this has been discontinued, which I'm kind of surprised by. I don't know why you would discontinue this palette, but I don't feel the pull for this palette anymore. When I bought this, I loved it. Something about this color story, I don't know why. I just absolutely loved it. At the beginning of my YouTube channel, I was more interested in color, but the truth is I am a neutrals girl. That's just who I am, and this just doesn't speak to me anymore. It's a pretty palette, but am I going to use it? I don't think I am. So sadly, I'm going to let this go, but it's not because it's not a good palette. It's a really nice palette. The quality is nice. I like it, but for me personally, I know I'm not going to use it if I hold on to it. So I am going to go ahead and declutter it. All right, another one that may shock you. I think I'm going to declutter this, you guys. This is the Tartelette Full Bloom palette. This one is tough because this is a pretty palette. But this is a large, really, really large palette, and I just find that I don't use my large palettes. In fact, this is my largest palette, I think, that I have in my collection, and it's pretty, don't get me wrong, but I also have the Tartelette in Bloom palette, just the original, and I am much, much, much more likely to use this than I am this. It is so pretty though, and I have used it, and it's a nice palette. The quality is good. I love all these pinky, more neutral colors, a little bit of purple in there, but it's just not something I think is gonna get used. I think it's gonna sit here and just kind of collect dust, but it is a pretty palette, but I know that I will use this more. I love my original Tartelette in Bloom palette. I don't know, something about this, maybe it's because it's smaller, maybe it's because I've had this for longer. I just feel like I will use this way more than I'll use the larger one. So I'm going to keep this and declutter the large one. Okay, something else I know I want to declutter is one of these two Pat McGrath quads. So I have the newer one, which is Venusian Sunrise. This is the one that came out earlier this year with her bronzers. So you get two mattes, two shimmers, one of the really pretty metallic kind of flaky shimmers. But I also have this one, and this one is very, very similar. It's the Voyeuristic Vixen quad that looks like this, but look at these color stories. I mean, I definitely don't need both. They're very similar. So you get two mattes in here. You only get one in this one, but I mean, these two pearly shades in the top corner are very similar. This flakier shade right here has like a pink shift to it. This one is more golden in the Venusian Sunrise. So I know I don't need both of these. I mean, honestly, this shade is pretty, but it's not really my kind of shade either. This one with the pink shift. I mean, it's pretty, but it's not a shade that I look at and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with that. So I feel like I could declutter this. Honestly, this is barely used, so I might resell this on my Poshmark because there's nothing wrong with it. So I think I might do that and hang on to Venusian Sunrise. I just know that I'll use this shade more than the one in the Voyeuristic Vixen. I don't love that like pinky shift in there, but I do like this true like wet golden color. So I think that's what I'll do. I'm going to declutter Voyeuristic Vixen and I'm going to keep Venusian Sunrise. Those are really the only ones that I know right now that I'm kind of on the fence about. So I guess we'll just go through everything now and I'll decide one by one. I feel like there's a few more in here that are going to be kind of tricky for me, but let's just go through everything. So I have the Essence Nothing But Nude, or Nothing Compares to Nude palette. This is a great little palette. I really like this. This is one of my favorite drugstore palettes that I own, or that I've tried, really. It's just the perfect neutral, everyday, easy palette. So I really like that. I definitely want to keep it. Then we have the Urban Decay Foxy palette. This is one of the little mini palettes. Looks like this. This I will also keep. This is a really nice neutral palette that leans a little bit more on the green, khaki side, which those are my colors. That's what I love if I'm going to go color. I really love greens and khakis and golden colors. So this I do want to hang on to from Urban Decay. All right, this is an easy one, the YSL Mini Clutch palette. I am obsessed with these. I also have Stora Dolls, which is on my desk right now. This one is Caspa Spices, I think is what the name of it, or what this color story is. And then I just ordered Babylon Roses, which is the one that's more purple, kind of a rosy color story. But these are one of the things I absolutely fell in love with this year. So that is an obvious keep. Another obvious keep is my Charlotte Tilbury Super Nudes palette. I've had this for a long time, but this is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. It's a perfect neutral palette with a very unique shadow formula, especially for Charlotte Tilbury. These are more of a satin finish. They're matte, but they have just the slightest bit of radiance to them. They're not a flat matte formula, and you get warm and cool shades in here, which I really appreciate. You don't find that all the time. It's small, it's easy to take with you if you want. This is such a great palette by her. I will definitely be keeping it. Moving on to this cute little palette from Victoria Beckham, which I love. Yes, it is very neutral and very basic, but I love it. It's so cute and tiny and just pretty to look at. It's heavy. It's just so nice. This is the signature color, so it's the most neutral one I believe that she makes, but these shadows are really nice. They're very subtle, but they're really nice if you like something a little bit more subdued for your eyes. This is really nice. I love this. Definitely want to keep. Another obvious keep is this little quad from Surat. This I tried, I guess it was earlier this year, back in the summertime. This eyeshadow formula, so beautiful, so incredibly luxurious. It is so finely milled. I mean, you can't even feel these shadows. They're so fine, and they have a beautiful pearlescence to them, but they're not glittery. They have just a beautiful sheen to them. So gorgeous. They sent me this little quad, and I really want to buy another quad from them because this formula is just impeccable. Impeccable. So that I do not want to get rid of for sure. Okay, then I have two Charlotte Tilbury quads here. I have Pillow Talk, which is here. I have to keep this because this is classic. I don't use it that much anymore, but Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk is just, I mean, it's classic. It's so classic. So that I believe I will be keeping. This one is Celestial Pearl. So this is from her holiday collection. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before. It's 4 glittery kind of pop shades. That's kind of what I believe that's what Charlotte Tilbury calls most of these. It's like a palette of pop shades. These are really pretty. I love the outside of this one with the stars. I think I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it. I only have 2 of the quads, and I love Charlotte Tilbury, so those will stay. Moving along, I have 2 of the Natasha Denona little mini palettes. I have the mini gold palette, which I got not long ago, actually. I ordered this from her website, and I love these colors. Again, these are my khaki, golden, green tones. So that I definitely want to keep. And then this is her mini Starlet that came out earlier this year. Very pink, kind of a rosy color story, but I love the colors in here as well. So those are both keepers. Oh, this is a tough one. This is the Bare Minerals Gen Nude Neutral Palette. Okay, they don't make this palette anymore. They don't make these palettes don't look like this anymore from Bare Minerals. They have newer ones now, and I'm honestly not a huge fan of the newer ones. I think this formula was better. I like the packaging better. I wish they would go back to these. But I'm so torn here because I haven't used this in a long time, but I do love this palette. It's just not, I don't know. It's not something I pull out and use. I don't really use it in videos because you can't get it. Yeah, I feel I can't. I don't think I can get rid of that one. I just can't. This I will definitely keep. This is my little MAC palette I made earlier this year at a MAC store. I forget what 6 shades these are, but I love these colors. So that I will definitely keep. Then I have this palette from Rare Beauty. This is her Give Yourself Grace palette that came out earlier this year. This really surprised me. I bought this and used this months ago for a full face of Rare Beauty, and this was not a palette that I thought I was gonna really like because I don't know, I didn't have high expectations for Rare Beauty eyeshadows, but I have to say this is a really nice palette. These shadows are really great quality and it's a very unique color story. You have purple and pink, you have these warmer shades, and then you have this glittery shade in the middle. But I'm gonna hold on to this because I really enjoyed it when I used it, and I was very surprised. I wasn't expecting to really like this palette, but I did. So that I will definitely be keeping. All right, Kosas Undressed. This is definitely going to be decluttered. I purchased this not long after it came out. I had such high hopes for this because I love, as I've been saying, I love a good neutral palette. I love a palette that you might look at and say, that's boring. Those are the kind of palettes that I love. But this was a very big disappointment. You get 7 matte shades and 1 shimmer shade in here. The shimmer shade is, first of all, it's gritty feeling. It's very thick. It doesn't feel nice at all. And you get, I mean, there is no pigment here. It's not sparkly. This was so disappointing. And this was like $40. So this is definitely going to be decluttered. It will probably be making it in makeup that I was disappointed in this year. But yeah, that is definitely one that disappointed me. All right, I have 3 Tom Ford quads here. Let me pull them out and show you. So I have Nude Dip, which this is a classic. Oops. This is a classic Tom Ford palette, so I will definitely keep it. It's cool toned, and when I think of Tom Ford quads, I think of this one. It's just a great neutral if you like this color story. I will definitely be keeping Nude Dip. I actually was able to find this at a cosmetics company store a few years ago, 75% off, and I'm still not over it. I can't believe I got that 75% off, but I did. Then I have the shade Honeymoon. This is very different for me too, but I love this palette. I love the colors in here. This is what it looks like. So you get a champagne, more of a bronzy gold, a dark purple, and then this kind of purple, almost like a garnet color, but I like this. It's different from anything else in my collection, and I really love it. I definitely want to keep it. So that is Honeymoon. And then I have one more here, which is Suspicion. Suspicion is the one I'm kind of considering decluttering. This one is just a warmer neutral palette. I want to say I got this at a cosmetics company store too. I'm going to put this one in the maybes for now, but I'm thinking that I might be able to declutter that. I just don't feel as strongly about this one as I do the others. So I'm going to put this in the maybes for now. Okay, one I'm definitely going to be keeping is the Pat McGrath Bronze Ecstasy palette. This was one of her holiday 5 pans from this year, and I love this. I love the colors. The formula in here is really good. This is definitely something I can see myself continuing to use, so that will definitely stay. Then I have 2 Dior, I think these are called Quince. Is that right? I think that's right. This one you guys have never seen. This is Soft Cashmere. I think that's the shade. Yeah, Soft Cashmere. This has never been used. And this is the old formula, you guys. I was at an Ulta. I don't think I ever shared this in a video, but I was in an Ulta. This was a few months ago. And as you probably know, a lot of Ulta stores have Dior in store now. I was looking at these Quints and I was noticing in the section for soft cashmere, there was one box that was the shiny packaging, which, so after Dior redid their formulas, the outer packaging is a matte color now, and the old one used to be a shiny color. Well, there was one soft cashmere with the shiny packaging, so I knew it was the older formula, and I snagged it because I have one other one of these that I'll show you in a minute that I absolutely love to death. I love the color story, the formula, it's impeccable. So I knew this is another kind of classic one that Dior is known for. It's more cool toned, so I knew I had to have it. So that has never been used, but it will be here in a video soon. But I just now realized I never shared that in a video, I don't think. This is the one I fell in love with first. Nude dress. I absolutely love this quad. This is one of my favorites in this whole drawer, especially this shade up here. Such a pretty one and done. Almost, I never know how to describe that shade. It's a little bit of a bronze, but like a pinky bronze. It's so pretty. I absolutely love this little palette, so that is an obvious keep. Then I have 3 Dior Backstage palettes. Now, these, I wonder what's going on with these because they used to make a ton of these. This is the previous formula. These have now since been reformulated. Now they only make 1 of these on Sephora. There aren't different color stories anymore, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. So I have 3 of them. The first one is this here. This was a limited edition, I think from last year. Was it last year? I can't remember, but it was khaki neutrals, which look at these colors. Why would they make something like this limited edition? I don't know, because this is just, look at these colors. Look at those greens. This just, oh, you can't get this. It was limited edition. I don't care though. I'm keeping it. That color story is just everything that I love. So then these 2 were permanent at one point. I have warm neutrals and cool neutrals, but I guess you can't buy these anymore because I can't find them anywhere. So this is what warm neutrals looks like. So you get some purple, some brown, these kind of bronze, reddish colors, and then you get some true, just like everyday neutrals in here. These also come with a primer at the top. I used to use these all the time, but I have not used them lately. I also have the purple one. Oh gosh, okay, these are gonna be tricky. Oof, I don't know. Those are gonna be maybes. I don't feel like I can make that decision right now. And then we already went over this one. This is the Pat McGrath Venusian Sunrise that I will be keeping. I've been dreading these. So I have 3 larger Pat McGrath palettes here. I still have the boxes because it just feels wrong to throw these boxes away. So I have these 2, and then I have one of her holiday palettes, which is this one here. Okay, here's the thing. I like Pat McGrath, but I'm not a huge Pat McGrath fan. Like, it's not in my top brands. I keep trying her palettes because they are beautiful. I mean, you can't deny they're beautiful, but I just have other things that I like more and I use more. So this is the one from last year. This is Moonlit Seduction. Moonlit Seduction. This was my first larger Pat McGrath palette, and I know a lot of people love this one. I know a lot of people love it, but I just, I don't know, guys. I don't love it. I want to love it, but I don't. The mattes in here, I'm not a huge fan of. That's kind of what turned me off from these originally, was this palette was my first, like I said. So when I got it, I just expected her mattes to just blend easily, no trouble, no patchiness, and I did not have that experience with these mattes here. I had a bit of a hard time applying them. I do like this shade, these two shades. I like this one that has like the blue shift in it that I know a lot of people love. I don't really love that. I'm not a huge fan of blue on my eyes, or really blue in makeup in general. I feel very undecided right now. Okay. So this is Moonlit Seduction. I have the one from this year, which is there no name on here? I can't even think of what the name is. This is the one from this year, which honestly, this color story speaks to me more than the other one, just in general, but neither of them are like a perfect color story for me. Like this shade here, this, I don't even remember what it's called, but this pink kind of golden shade kind of reminds me of that shade from Voyeuristic Vixen. It's just not my thing. It's just not my thing. I love this purple. I love this gold. I had better luck with the mattes in here than I did in Moonlit Seduction. But like this shade up here is not something I'm going to use very much at all. I don't know. I feel very, very torn. What I am pretty confident in, which kind of shocks me, is this palette. For some reason, I want to keep this, and I don't know why. This is not me at all, really. It has these bright colors in here, but I don't know. If I want to play with color, for some reason, this is the palette that I want. I can't explain that, because I mean, this hot pink, this red, these are not things I normally use, but I've had a lot of luck with this palette. What was this called? Celestial Nirvana. Yeah, for this, I know I'm going to keep this one. So that is a keep for sure. I don't know. And I may end up keeping these two. I don't know. We're going to say maybe on the Pat McGrath, on the two motherships for right now. Okay, it's actually the next day. My camera died yesterday and I'm a little under the weather. So if my voice sounds nasally, I'm sorry. I'm struggling, but I wanted to finish up filming this declutter. So we'll continue on with these palettes right here. First is the ColourPop Not a Box of Chocolates palette. This is a definite keep for me. This is one of my favorite palettes ColourPop has ever put out. It's a darker palette for the most part, so you have a lot of darker shades in here, some really pretty shimmers, but then you do have this top row of the lighter, more neutral shades that you could do a very quick everyday look with as well. I love, love, love this. So that is a very obvious keep. This is new to me from Sigma. They gifted me this actually. This is one of their 9-pan palettes, the Spicy palette. It's just a really nice neutral palette. I used this in a video that I filmed. I'm not sure if it's up or not yet, but this is a really nice palette. I love the Sigma eyeshadow formula, and this is my first time trying the 9 pans, but I loved it. So that I definitely want to hold on to. Then I have Going Coconuts from ColourPop. This is probably my favorite ColourPop palette if I had to pick just one. Mine is really old. I've had it for a while. You can see the lettering is kind of rubbed off, and mine doesn't even close all the way anymore, but I do love this palette. I'm kind of deciding between this and this. Well, actually, no. I was gonna say this palette is similar, but actually this palette, Deja Brew, is similar to That's Taupe. So I feel like I could pick one or the other of those two, but Going Coconuts, I do really like. I do want to keep. Then we have Deja Brew from ColourPop, but this is one of the Target palettes, but you'll see it looks pretty similar, very similar in color story to That's Taupe. So I definitely don't want to keep both of these. So I'm going to keep That's Taupe and declutter Deja Brew. You guys, this one is I don't know what to do here. This Lizzie McGuire ColourPop palette, I ordered this at some point. They were doing a sale and this was like, I don't know, it was 50% off, maybe more than 50%, honestly. And I bought it solely because I loved Lizzie McGuire. I loved it. This was, I mean, I just loved this show. I love Hilary Duff. I still do. And this is just so cute. I mean, this is just the cutest thing I've ever seen for a palette. I haven't used it though, you guys. Do I need to keep this or don't I? I mean, the colors are so on brand for Lizzie McGuire, but I don't know. Should I keep it for like something different in my collection? I don't know. I feel so torn about this one. Okay, I'm gonna put Lizzie in the maybe category for right now, and we'll decide at the end when we go back through the maybes, because I'm very torn. Okay, this ColourPop Wild Nothing palette I like, but I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one. I feel like I have enough ColourPop palettes that I feel like I don't need this one. This is pretty. It's a really light neutral palette, but I also love That's Taupe and Going Coconuts. I don't feel like I need this one also, so I am going to declutter that one. Okay, moving along to the Ulta Everyday Faves eyeshadow palette. Let's open this up. This is a really nice neutral palette. I like this, but is this going to be the palette that I pull out and use? I don't know. I don't know. It's a nice palette if you're looking for a neutral palette and you want, I would say this is primarily cooler tones, but you do get, I guess these two up here are a little bit on the warmer side. This is a nice palette, but there's nothing special about it. Like, for me to want to keep a palette, there has to be something special about it. Something that makes me want to have it. Do you know what I mean? I feel like this one is not that special. It's nice, but it's not that special. Do you know what I mean? I feel like I could declutter it. Okay, here's one I am going to keep. The CoverGirl Clean Fresh eyeshadow palette in Shimmering Beige. Okay, this is super nice. This really, really surprised me this year. I tried this earlier in the year, and these are really nice. This formula is not a typical drugstore formula. It's very creamy, almost like a satiny finish. Very pretty. This shade here is more of like a topper, but I love, you know me and neutrals. I love them, and this surprised me. I was very surprised by this, so that I do want to hold on to. Okay, this Flower Beauty Desert Lights palette, I am going to declutter this. This is a pretty palette. It's just 6 really pretty metallic shades. I don't love this enough to want to keep it. I'm not going to pull this out over all my other palettes that I have that have shades like this. But this is a nice palette if you're looking for 6 warmer, shimmery shades. They're nice. But I'm going by what I know I would choose over other things in my collection, and this is not one of them. So I will declutter. Okay, I am going to hold on to these from LA Girl. This is another drugstore launch from this year that really impressed me. These are impeccable quality, and they have, I want to say, like 7 or 8 different color stories. So I have this one, which is obviously very neutral. You get 2 mattes and 2 metallics in here. This is the Seduce color story. Really nice. I will keep that one. And then this one is Cowgirl, and it's more of the warmer. This one's kind of like a yellowy brown, a cream, more of a champagne, and then this really pretty olive green shimmer. Really, really nice. So I will hold on to those. Then I have the e.l.f. Perfect 10 palette. This is one of their newer palettes of all matte shades. It's nice. Again, I don't use it though. I don't use it. I've used this a few times for videos, but if I'm going to go for an all matte palette, I'm going to go for my Patrick Ta Major Dimension 3 palette, just being totally honest. This is nice, but I just don't think I'm going to use it. I feel like if I keep it, it's just going to sit in here and not get used. So I think I'm fine to declutter this. This is not a bad formula though from e.l.f. These new tin pan palettes are pretty good. I don't think I'm going to use it. So I will declutter. Lastly, the e.l.f. Bite Size I Love You a Latte. I will also declutter this because, again, this is nice. Love all four of these neutrals, but again, now that I have that Patrick Ta palette, the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 3 is just an all-time favorite now for a matte palette. That's going to win out over everything else, if I'm being totally honest. So I think I can also let that go. Moving over to this side. Let's see, where should we start here? Start back here. I have a few palettes from NARS. I have the little Laguna Quad. I think this came out earlier this year, but it's just a nice neutral quad. 3 shimmery shades and a matte shade. Is it boring? Yes, but do I love it? Yes. I actually really like the NARS eyeshadow formula. I wish they wouldn't make every single palette limited edition, but that seems to be what they do for some reason. I don't know, but I will keep that from NARS. All right, the other two I have from NARS are these. So this is the palette from last year. It's the Summer Unrated palette. Looks like this. It's really, really pretty. This color story I just absolutely loved from NARS. I think this is one of the prettiest ones they've come out with. In fact, they released a new palette a few days ago and they called it something different, but the color story literally looks identical to this. So the new NARS palette, I can't remember the name, but it looks exactly like this. So if you have this palette, you have the new palette. I really like this though. I hate to, it's limited edition, even though you can get a newer version that looks similar now. So I hate to keep, but I really like NARS formula, like I said. So I do want to keep that. And then this is the Orgasm Rising palette. And I really like this too. I love the size of this, how tiny and compact it is. It's good to travel with. I actually took this with me to Florida earlier this year, and this was like the perfect little travel palette. I really like it, so I do want to keep that. We talked about this already, the Tartelette in Bloom. I am going to keep this. I still love this palette to this day, and I love it. It's a classic for a reason, and I want to keep it. Y'all are going to laugh at this. All right, every time I do one of these videos, everybody comments on this palette. This is the Tarte Aspen Ovard palette. This is very old. It's at least, I don't know the exact year that they did this, but I want to say it was 2017, maybe. That sounds right. 2016, maybe 2017 or 2016. But this I have to keep this, okay? You can't get this anymore, but this palette, when I see it, I remember going into Ulta and seeing this in the front and just absolutely loving it and buying it. This was when I had not started my channel yet, but I was so far in on beauty YouTube that I was just obsessed with it. And I didn't buy this because it was Aspen Ovard's palette. I mean, I know who she is, but I never really watched her. But I bought this because I just loved it and I thought it was so pretty. And my first job out of college, I wore this to work every single day. I just have to keep it. I just love it. I love it. And yeah, that's the explanation. I know I'm trying to kind of curate my collection of eyeshadow a bit more. I just can't let this one go. I just can't do it. So I'm not going to. Moving along. I have two palettes from Too Faced. Okay, I'm gonna declutter this. I bought this palette mainly because it's pumpkin spice, and I actually bought it not the year that came out. I bought it the next year. I bought it off Poshmark, I think, and someone was selling a new one for pretty cheap, and I bought it from there. But I mean, I'm not going to use this palette. I'm not. The colors I would use would be like these greens right here, maybe these pinky purpley shades, but these over here, I mean, I'm not going to use it. Is it a pretty palette though? Yeah. But am I going to use this color story? No, I'm not. I know I'm not. And honestly, I could get a similar vibe, I think, from my Tom Ford Honeymoon quad that has that like reddish kind of wine color, and then it has a purple in it. Like, I feel like I kind of get this vibe from that, and I would rather keep that small little quad instead of this. I'm really trying to cut down, guys. I'm on palettes because I know after doing YouTube for 4 years, I know now what I really like and what I will use and what I really want to have. And just because I think this is cute and pretty doesn't mean I need it. So that can go. Then the Natural Nudes palette. This is a nice palette from Too Faced. This is probably my favorite Too Faced palette they've ever done that I've tried. It reminds me of kind of a combination of my Patrick Ta Major Dimension 1 and 2. Because the first one, Major Dimension 1, is more of like bronze, warm neutrals. And then the second one is more of like a rosy pink neutral palette. And I feel like that's kind of what you get here. I feel like I can let this go. I really do. I like it. It's pretty. I think it's a good palette if you find it and you like this color story. It's nice. But just compared to my other palettes, I know that I have others that I would choose over this. So I think that can go. Whew, guys, these are easy. So this will give me a break for a minute. This is the first Patrick Ta palette, Major Dimension 1. I love it. I've talked about this 10 billion times on my channel. I love everything about this palette. The shimmers, the mattes, the creams. This palette just makes me happy. I love it, and I will always have it. Always, always. Then I have Major Dimension 2, which is the more rosy one, which I use this one the least of the 3 Patrick Ta palettes that I have. But again, I can get these rosy, same kind of colors, honestly, that's in those two Too Faced palettes, but I like this so much better. So that is a keep. And then this is the newest one, the Major Dimension 3 that I mentioned earlier. This is just, I mean, this is my go-to matte palette. Everything I could possibly want is in this palette. You have warm colors, you have cool colors, you have 2 cream shadows you could use as liner or as bases. I mean, the quality is impeccable. It's perfection. It's perfection. So those are easy. Down to Natasha Denona. I Need a Nude, another absolute favorite. I just, like everyone else, I am absolutely in love with this palette. I think this is one of the best things that I purchased in 2023 for sure. I think it's worth every single penny. I adore it. So obviously I will be keeping. Another great palette from 2022, or 2023 is the Yucca palette from Natasha Denona with all these beautiful greens. I did, I believe, a 3 looks, 1 palette video with this when this came out, and this is so unique. I love it. I love it. Is this like an everyday palette for me? No, but I love all of this, all of these tones in here. I love if I'm going to go color. Most of the time it's going to be colors like this. So I love this. I will definitely keep the Yucca palette. The Glam palette. I've honestly been considering decluttering this one. I know, it's crazy. Because there was a time when this was like everything. You saw it everywhere, and it's a beautiful palette. Don't get me wrong. I'm trying not to keep things that I don't feel really, really confident about, and I don't feel super confident about this, but it's not because I think it's a bad palette. It's just, I don't know. I'm looking here at these palettes I have sitting here to see what I have that's similar to this. This is like Nude Dip kind of from Tom Ford, or even Soft Cashmere from Dior that we talked about earlier. I mean, this is kind of the same vibe as this. I don't know. We're going to put this in the maybes. We'll go back to it at the end. Natasha Denona Biba palette. This, I still love this palette. I feel like her I Need a Nude palette has definitely taken over this one for me in terms of, will I use the I Need a Nude palette more? Yes. But this is still pretty, and this is just a different assortment of colors in here. And I like it. I like it. I'm not sure if she's discontinuing this palette or not. But I have seen some things that maybe she's discontinuing it. I don't know. But I gotta keep Biba. I remember ordering this and I was so excited. I think this might have actually been my first Natasha Denona palette. I think it might have. Yeah, I can't. I gotta keep that one. And then the gold palette. So I ordered this right before it was discontinued. And I keep hearing that she is releasing a new gold palette this year. Which, if she does, I will be really excited about it because I love the colors in here. I will probably buy the new one if she comes out with a new one, and if I do, maybe I'll declutter this one at that time. I don't know, but for now, I think this is too pretty to leave. I hope she does release a new one with a very similar color story, because I never really understood why she discontinued this palette, because so many people love it. But I am going to hang on to it for now. Moving right along. Oh, some of these are going to be hard too. Okay, now I have my Sigma palettes, my larger Sigma palettes. So we'll start with this one. This is the Sigma Diana Saldana palette. I think this is the last large Sigma palette that I purchased, and this one I never fell in love with this. I loved the color story when I saw it online, so I ended up ordering it, but I actually think I could declutter this one. It's pretty. Like I said, I love the Sigma eyeshadow formula, but of the Sigma palettes that I have, this is the one that I'm the least gravitating towards, so I do feel like I could be okay to let that one go. Then we have Sigma Enchanted. This I will be keeping. I love this. I think this might have been the first larger Sigma palette I bought. I can't remember, but I love the colors in here. I love these purples. You have a little bit of green in here. You have a few deeper shades. It's very unique. I don't have another palette with a color story that looks like this. So that one is a stay. Another stay, the Cinderella palette from Sigma. I love Cinderella. I love Disney. I love Cinderella. She's my favorite princess. And yeah, they did a great job with this palette. I believe I did a 3 looks 1 palette with this palette as well when it came out. But I love it. This is one of those palettes that's like a collector thing. I don't know how much I will continue using this in the next however long before I do another declutter, but I love Cinderella and I love this formula. It's just like a nostalgic thing for me. So that one has to stay. And then I also have the Ambiance palette, which is the warmer neutral palette from Sigma. Very pretty. I like this a lot. And I love the formula, like I said. So this one can stay. I love the Sigma palettes. Then I have 3 from Urban Decay. First one that I have is Wild Greens, which I actually did not dislike this palette. Apparently a lot of people didn't love it. I like it. I think it's pretty. I will say though, now that I have this palette, the Yucca palette from Natasha Denona, I don't know that I need this one. I feel like I don't need both of these, and I like this one more, the Yucca palette. So I feel like I could let this go. My favorite shades in here are these greens here, and I feel the Yucca palette does the same thing with a few more shades. Yeah, I like this palette though, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's a bad palette, although a lot of people I don't think loved it, but I think now that I have this one, I don't need that one. And we have the Naked 3. I actually just bought this less than a month ago. I bought it, if you saw my video where I used a bunch of classic makeup, I used this in that video. And I really enjoyed this. It's an older palette, obviously. I just bought it recently, but I like this. I mean, if you're a neutrals person and you like these rosy, pinky, neutral tones, I think this is a nice palette, and I liked it when I used it. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to that one. And finally, oh, this one. This one is hard, you guys. The Urban Decay Honey palette. Naked Honey. Oh, this one is hard. This is really hard. I loved this for so long. I loved it when I bought it. But I don't know. This is just not something that I use. I love to look at it, but I just don't use it. I don't use it. I used to. Oh, it pains me, but I think that one needs to go. I really do. I don't think I'm going to use it. I told you, I'm trying to be cutthroat here. Next is this palette from MAC. This is the Connect in Color Unfiltered Nudes palette. This also came out earlier this year. This I really like, and I want to keep it. This is my first time really trying MAC eyeshadows. And this is kind of what made me want to make this little palette here on my own. But this is pretty, you guys. I really enjoy this palette. I don't have a ton of experience with MAC eyeshadows, but this I was really excited to see when it came out earlier this year. I love the mix of mattes and the metallics, and you get some warmer and cooler shades in here, which I really like. And I also love the outside of it. I think it's really pretty. I like it. So that I do want to keep. Now that I think about it, so I also have the Persona Identity palette. I feel like this kind of reminds me of this MAC palette now that I think about it. I mean, they're not identical, but they remind me of each other. I like Persona, but I feel like I like this MAC palette more. I like this formula a little bit better. Yeah. Guys, I think I'm going to declutter the Identity palette. I love Persona, but I'm trying to cut this down, and if I don't absolutely love it, I'm trying not to hang on to it, because I really want to have a collection of palettes that I just love. Do you know what I mean? I know you do. You probably do. I also have this Identity 2 from Persona. They sent me this a while ago. I did like an Instagram collaboration with them, and they sent me this palette to use for the video. I love the mix of color in here. I like that you get the neutrals, but you have these pops of color mixed in. But I never use this. Ugh, I don't know. That one's gonna go in the maybes. I can't make up my mind. BK Beauty True Beauty palette. This one I'm going to hang on to. As you know, I love BK Beauty brushes, and this is their only eyeshadow palette. And I love the brand. I love Lisa. I love supporting them. So I do want to hang on to this. This is a nice everyday palette. If you like neutrals, this is a nice, very user-friendly formula. So I will keep that one. Of course, one of my favorite palettes, probably in my top 3, Ethereal Eyes from Makeup by Mario. I love this palette so much. This, I mean, honestly, this is top 3 right here. I love it. This is me in an eyeshadow palette. I hope actually he will come out maybe with like a part 2 of this palette this year. Maybe. But this is one of those palettes that I would literally cry. If something happened to this and I did not have it anymore, I would cry. I would cry over this. I love it that much. So obviously that is a keep. Almost done. All right, then I have the Master Mats palette from Makeup by Mario. I have honestly been considering decluttering this just because to me, this is the same type of palette as the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 3, and of the two, I would choose Patrick Ta by far. I like the formula. I like the assortment of colors more. If I kept this, I feel like it would be for comparison purposes. Yeah, I feel like I can declutter this, you guys. I know I'm shocking some people right now. But I just know I'm going to choose this palette over that one. I'm telling you, if you want an all matte palette, this is the one. Charlotte Tilbury Beautyverse palette. This is the new one from her holiday collection this year, and I actually really enjoyed this palette. I really love this top row here of these shades. This formula is impeccable. From Charlotte Tilbury, it's so creamy, almost like a cream to powder formula, but it's not. It's an actual powder, but it feels so creamy and just very easy to blend. Beautiful formula. And then you have all these fun, pretty, sparkly shades. I really like it. I love the packaging. That's a keep for me. I also have the Instant Eye Smoky Eyes Are Forever. I think this was her holiday palette from last year, I want to say. I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was. So you have 12 shadows, basically 4 3-pan groupings of eye looks that you can do. Obviously, you can mix and match if you want. But this is, I used to have a few of her longer palettes. This is my favorite one that she's done so far. I really like this assortment of colors in here. The only colors I'm not crazy about are these two. This like orangey color and this reddish kind of matte right here. All right, we'll revisit in a minute. Put that in the maybes because I feel unsure. And finally, the Danessa Myricks Groundwork Defining Neutrals palette. This is very new to me. I've only had this a month or two, and I'm still playing around with this palette. I have not fallen in love with it, I will say that. I hate the smell. I literally hate the smell of this palette. Like just now when I opened it, I smell it. It's very strong, and I don't know if it's mine, if they all smell like this. Let me know if yours has a smell. This one has like a very artificial, chemical-y smell to it that I really don't love. I love how innovative and different this palette is. I obviously love it because it's neutrals. I love that you can use it in many different ways. I don't know. I just haven't fallen like in love with it like some other people have. I don't know. It's so new to me. I'm going to keep it, but I'm still kind of deciding how I feel about it. All right. We have a few maybes to go through now, and then we will be done and put everything away. Okay. So I have these two Dior palettes. I have the warm neutrals and the cool neutrals. Okay, I know I'm gonna let the warm neutrals go because this is a pretty palette. I liked it, but I have warm neutral palettes that I'm keeping, that I kept without really thinking about it. Whereas with this, I'm having to think about it. truly, if I'm having to question these palettes a lot, that's probably my answer there. Because I want to look at my palettes and be like, yes, I love that palette. You know what I mean? Hopefully you know what I mean. So warm neutrals is going to go. This one is very pretty. It has all these purples in here. I'm trying to decide or determine if I have a palette with these shades in here. Oh, actually, you know what? I just answered my own question. I just bought the YSL quad. This quad in the Babylon Roses color, which is, it's like these colors, purples, and I can tell you I like this formula more than this. Okay, so that answers my question. So this can go. Then we have Tom Ford Superstition palette, or Suspicion, not Superstition. I feel like I can let this go. I really do. I kept Nude Dip and I kept Honeymoon from Tom Ford. And this is just a warm neutral quad. But I have a lot of warm neutral quads. Warm neutral palettes in general. Yeah, I feel like I can live without this. So I'm going to declutter the Identity 2 palette from Persona. I feel like I need to declutter this, you guys. I like it. It's pretty, but for what I'm wanting in my collection, I just don't think I need this. I really don't. I feel like I'm not going to use this. I really don't think I am. So we're going to declutter. Charlotte Tilbury Smoky Eyes Are Forever. Why am I having such a hard time with this? I really don't know. No, I'm gonna declutter, you guys. There's a reason I'm having trouble, you know? We're gonna declutter. Oh, Lizzie. Why am I like this? If you're like this and you can relate to this problem, please let me know. Things like this get me. ColourPop doesn't get me that often, but they got me with this because they hit me with the Lizzie McGuire, and you combine Lizzie McGuire with makeup, which is my love, but I don't need this, you guys. I'm not gonna use it. It's cute. I don't need it. I really don't. I don't need it. All right, this is gonna go. I'm probably gonna resell this on my Poshmark because it's new in the box. So yeah, that's gonna go. The Glam palette. Oh, I think this can go. I really do. And I just think I have other things that I like more than this. Of my Natasha palettes, the 4 that I'm keeping, I feel are all very different from each other. This is similar to I Need a Nude, but I like I Need a Nude better. This is definitely more cool toned. But again, I have YSL Stora Dolls that I love. This palette in the Stora Dolls color. I have Nude Dip from Tom Ford. I have Soft Cashmere from Dior. I feel like I can get rid of this. Okay, we did it. That was tough, guys. That was really tough. Okay, I am gonna go ahead and organize everything back in here, and that will be it for this video. If you are curious, I will count the palettes I'm decluttering. We are decluttering 25 palettes, and we are keeping, I believe we have 49 here. So we are keeping 49, decluttering 25. Still a lot of palettes, but I feel good about what I'm keeping. So let's put everything back. Just kidding, you guys. I just realized we forgot my 2 Pat McGrath Mothership palettes. I did put these in the maybes yesterday. After thinking about this, though, I'm going to hold on to these. Moonlit Seduction is here. Is it like my absolute favorite palette that I own? No, but I mean, these palettes are beautiful, and I want to keep some things to have around to be creative with when I feel like it. I feel like this one and the other one that I have, they're very different. This is more cool toned. This new one from this year is more warm toned. So I feel like I have a 2 good different palettes from her in terms of the motherships. So I'm going to hold on to these. I don't know how many more motherships I will buy from Pat McGrath unless one comes out that just blows me away, but did not want to forget about those, so we will be keeping those as well.